a secret too big to bury. Imagine standing alone beneath a sky so clear you can trace every river of stars. Suddenly a roar splits the silence, and a shape the size of a mountain drags its shadow across the plain. This is no dragon from children's fables. It is a Nephil, the half-angel child of a heavenly watcher and an earthly woman. It strides across fields, rips orchards from the ground with a single fist, and laughs because it believes nothing in creation can overturn its birthright. Then, in the stillness of night, the Colossus dreams of floodwaters that swallow mountains, and of a verdict carved on a stone that melts in the deep. The dream rattles even its gargantuan bones. The next morning, the giant is suddenly aware that judgment can reach even the sky. Welcome to Legend Reborn. This is Legend Reborn, the channel that prizes dusty parchments as highly as blockbuster trailers. I'm your host, and for the next minutes, I invite you to lean back, switch off the day's alarms, and travel with me to a world perched on the edge of disaster. By the time we surface, you'll know how the Book of Giants was discovered, how it expands the Bible's briefest reference to the Nephilim, how a Persian prophet recycled the giants into his own cosmic mythology, how medieval scribes and modern archaeologists kept the legend alive, and why the story still matters in an age of gene editing and artificial intelligence. The cave, the shepherd, and the scrolls. Our tale begins with a goat. One winter morning in 1947, a Bedouin teenager named Mohammed Ed-Dib chased a stray animal up the chalk cliffs beside the Dead Sea. Frustrated, he lobbed a stone into a dark opening. Instead of a bleat, he heard pottery shatter. Curiosity triumphed over caution. He squeezed through a gap no wider than his shoulders and found tall clay jars capped with bowl-like lids. Inside lay rolls of parchment so dry they cracked at the slightest touch. He and his cousins sold a handful to a Bethlehem cobbler. Within months, scholars were frantic, and within years, 11 nearby caves surrendered more than 900 manuscripts, including a handful of Aramaic fragments labeled 1Q23 and 1Q24. The fragments mentioned watchers, giants, violence, and dreams, a narrative that soon earned the title, The Book of Giants. Radiocarbon dating fixed the handwriting to roughly the late 2nd century before Christ, earlier than almost every other surviving biblical text. Yet fewer than 200 lines remained legible. Piecing together the story was like reconstructing a 1,000-piece puzzle with most of the sky missing. Still, the story that emerged was both stranger and more human than anyone anticipated. Who are the Watchers and the Nephilim? Genesis chapter 6 offers only one line. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, when the sons of God went to the daughters of men and had children by them. Ancient interpreters argued for generations. Were the sons of God powerful human kings, or were they divine beings? The Book of Enoch has no doubt. They were watchers, heavenly sentinels assigned to observe Earth, who abandoned their posts out of desire for human women. Their descent shattered the boundary between heaven and earth. Under their tutoring, metal weapons replaced wooden clubs, sorcery eclipsed simple medicine, and vanity dressed itself in paints and jewels. The Watchers' children, the Nephilim, grew to unimaginable size, devoured every crop in sight, then turned on animals and finally on humankind. The earth cried out beneath their footsteps. Rivers clogged with carcasses. Even the mountains seemed to lean away from their rampages. In response, 4 archangels, Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel, petitioned the Most High. Justice required a verdict, but mercy offered one last warning. The giants would be allowed to see their fate in dreams and plead for help. Dreams of doom. Among the fragments, the central figures are twin brothers Ohya and Hahya, and their companion Mahway. One night they dream a vast stone tablet thrown into a sea. The first tablet dissolves. A second tablet floats unharmed. They wake in terror, convinced the first tablet is themselves, the second mankind's future, preserved through Noah. In another vision, a tree is uprooted, and its roots are swallowed by fire, while its topmost branches survive in the clouds. Desperate, they send Mahway, part giant, part spirit on wings of the wind, to find Enoch, the seventh patriarch who walked with God and vanished from earth centuries earlier. Mahway passes through lightning and crystal spheres until he reaches Enoch's radiant court. He delivers petitions written on animal skins. Spare us, teach us, change the decree. Enoch listens, writes his reply on a wax tablet, and sends Mahway back to earth. The verdict is absolute. The dreams are true. The flood is certain. The watchers will be bound in chains under the hills until the final age. The giants will slaughter each other before the waters finish the purge. There is no appeal. Mani's cosmic rewrite. Centuries later, a young Persian named Mani encounters fragments of this story and reshapes them for a new faith. Mani's Manichaeism teaches that the universe is a battlefield between equal and opposite realms of light and darkness. Humanity, he says, is light imprisoned in corrupt flesh. The giants become a cautionary example of what happens when the dark powers steal too much light. In Mani's retelling, the Watchers are demonic rulers. The giants' bodies are prisons, and the flood is not only punishment, but a cosmic recycling plant that washes light upward in pillars of steam. Mani's chapters introduce a vision of a wounded tree that bleeds stars into a crystal sea. 5 princes of darkness who specialize in metallurgic and cosmetic corruption, and a ritual debate among the giants about baptism as a possible escape. Though Mani's theology differs, the emotional center of the story remains. Pride, appetite, and runaway knowledge lead inevitably to ruin. Where the Aramaic scroll leaves the giants hopeless, Mani allows a sliver of redemption. The sparks of light buried in their bones ascend at the moment of drowning, singing as they rise. Medieval echoes. The saga refuses to stay buried. An Armenian vision of the giants from the 5th century warns that when iron obeys clay, the tall ones will return. The phrase resurfaces a millennium later, when alchemists in Prague debate whether homunculi might be animated by traces of Nephilim blood. Spanish Kabbalists integrate Watcher legends into the Zohar to explain spiritual husks, and even Islamic scholars suggest that the jinn may be the restless spirits of antediluvian giants. Modern rediscovery. In 1904, British papyrologists digging through Egyptian rubbish heaps find a Greek line about angels chained beneath the sands. In 1945, an FBI field office in Detroit confiscates Persian codices describing a tree that bleeds stars. The pages linger in a vault until the Cold War relaxes. A decade ago, archaeologists at Qumran uncovered a thumbnail-sized fragment reading, "And they beg the earth to cover their shame," forcing scholars to revise commentaries yet again. Could the giants return? Today, humanity edits genomes, prints organs, and trains algorithms that learn in hours what took mankind millennia. The Watchers once shared metallurgy and enchantments. We share CRISPR and quantum code. The giants devoured wheat. We drain oceans of fish and saturate skies with carbon. Modern floods come not from divine decree, but from melting ice. The question is less about skyscraper humanoids and more about appetite outrunning wisdom. Lessons carved in stone. Across Judaism, Christianity, Manichaeism, and popular culture, the book repeats a single warning. Knowledge without humility destroys. Yet Mani's version whispers hope. Even corrupted flesh may release sparks of light. The moral is not to shun discovery, but to wield it with reverence. Final invitation. If tonight's journey awakened your imagination, share it, debate it, and subscribe for future expeditions where archaeology meets apocalypse. Are today's technological titans the new giants, or are we still waiting for footsteps in the night? Until next time, remember, history is never dead. It is legend reborn.